Hi, good morning. God bless you. We are now living on our 40th day under this movement control order. We all want to be free to move around again. We want to gather together with our friends and go back to work and live our normal lives. But I can guarantee you this one fact: life will not be back to normal. Our country has changed. Even our church would have changed. If we think that we can pick up where we last left off from our work, our businesses, and even our church, that would be a silly idea. There are so many changes all going around. We are changing the way we spend our time, the way we spend our money, the way we interact. So everything have changed. Of course, today we don't feel the impact of the change yet. We are still under this MCO and we are still sheltered from it. But we need to be prepared. When MCO is lifted, what does it mean to live in a post-MCO environment? Prepare ourselves by preparing our foundations. In Matthew chapter 7, 24, verse 24 to verse 27, we know of this popular story called the wise man who builds his house upon the rock and the foolish man who builds his house upon the sand. And when we look at the rock and the sand, we think that we need to build on the right material. But I want to see more than that. I want to say the timing is also equally important. You ask a contractor today when to lay your foundation, they will look at the sky and they will say, oh, it's going to rain, or it's going to be a storm, and they say we're not going to lay the foundation. Likewise today, what we're going to do is this: we are living in a clear blue sky. We are at home, no distraction, and this is indeed a good time, because the time will come when the storm comes, we can't lay our foundations anymore. So the challenge is, why don't we do it today? If we lay the right foundation, then when MCO is lifted, then we will know how to live our life. Our house that is built on the rock will not only keep you safe, your family safe, but also will provide shelter for others. One man in the Old Testament did that. He built his foundation well, and that man is called Nehemiah. You see, what he did was he lived a life to build his own life in such a way that when the time comes and God calls him, he was able to do something about it and to prepare to raise the people the people up, the people whom he belonged to, and lift them up to fulfill God-given destiny and retain back their glory. Now, Nehemiah, you can find this man Nehemiah. If you read chapters 1 to 3, there are several things that you can find about Nehemiah. Nehemiah, we all know, he is a cupbearer. He served in the king's palace. He has been given a very huge responsibility to safeguard the well-being of the king. And he lived a very comfortable life. But one thing Nehemiah did was he remembered the heritage, his own heritage, where he came from. He remembered who his forefathers were and their lifestyle and the values of their forefathers, who their God is. And he was busy building all this foundation. And ultimately, at the end, he was found to be a person of proven character, a man that can be trusted. All this was built over many years. He was tested even when difficult times. Nehemiah built his life. Now, Nehemiah lived in Babylon. He was not living in Jerusalem. He lived in a place very far away from Jerusalem. He never knew what Jerusalem like. And one thing was that he received a report about the people and the city of Jerusalem. The people were in great trouble and disgrace. They were suffering. The walls of Jerusalem were broken down and without gates. The people were in poverty, defenseless, oppressed, and there were no economic opportunities. Instead of just, Nehemiah began to do something about it. First and foremost, what he did was he recognized his heritage. These are my people. He fasted and he prayed to God. And he repented of the sins of his forefathers that brought this judgment upon them. You see, this is what Nehemiah's foundation was. In good times, he knows that his identity was with the people of Israel. His spiritual life shows us that he's linked to Jehovah, the God of Israel. And he knows that he has a destiny because he is a person that belongs to Jehovah. You see, I already spoke about talking about destiny and purpose. I will not do it here. But what is it that about Nehemiah was? He was a cupbearer, and he was willing to give up everything in order to be instrumental in restoring Jerusalem and the people. So what you find that in Nehemiah 2, he went to the king to ask for release to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the city of his forefathers. And this is something that we look at him and says, well, he is a very comfortable position. He could easily just say, here, take money and repair the wall or send somebody. But instead he took this responsibility personally. What does it mean? When we are prepared with our who we are and the God and we know who our God is, and when God calls us, we are ready. In fact, crisis moment comes when God calls a person to get a job done. God will do that. Most of the time, how we decide to serve God is when we look at our abilities to decide whether I'll choose to serve God this way or that manner. If we approach it this manner, many of us will never feel adequate or even feel worthy to serve God at all. You see, when God calls, He gives us ability. God always looks for availability. He will take care of my ability. You see, if you look at the life of Nehemiah again, he was a cupbearer. He's not a builder. He has no idea how to build walls or gates. He was not even aware of how big the city is, how big the project is. He was not even sure whether when he steps into the city of Jerusalem, whether the people will accept him and his ideas. But one thing about him is this: he responded by going and wanting to do something about it. You see, when MCO ends, the needs around us will be huge and challenging. Where will you be? Where will I be when the needs around us rises? Nehemiah took a very simple approach. He went to them and told them, you do not need to live in this manner. He was not angry with them. He did not scold them. He did not show any pity on them. In short, he's telling them, you can live better lives than this. You don't have to suffer like this. You don't have to be living in lack of security. You don't need to live in shame. He brought hope to the people by recognizing that, hey, you guys are the people of God, and you have lost your identity and you have lost your destiny. You see, the people responded. Why? Because they hear that there is a message of hope. Life after the MCO is similar. There will be people whom we know that needs to hear words of hope, not words of despair. Now, when you look at this story, you will hear that there are people who will rise up in opposition. From chapters 2 to 4, you will see these names: Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem. They rose up against the good work. They don't want the walls to be repaired. They want the same situation to persist. You see, the reality is when people want to do good, there will always be opposition. Some will be violent, some will be destructive. As we desire to help people around us, be prepared to face opposition. Now, when I'm talking opposition, what I want to focus is not just this, but to say that we were thought that these three individuals will welcome the rebuilding of the walls because they belong to this community. They are from this community. They live inside the city. They will enjoy the benefits of the wall. But they did not. They came in opposition. They were from inside. Opposition came from inside. So the question asked is this about us in the future. Would I be a solution to a situation, or am I going to be a problem or hindrance to a situation? There will be people among us who wants to help. Would I be contributing, or would I be a hindrance? I believe the church should be constructive. Be willing partners. Work with one another to solve and help people. Right? Yes, we can say there are many difficulties, there are many challenges. many impossible tasks before us. Yes, there are many excuses, but let's work together. Chapter 3 is another interesting part. It talks about, it's a whole list of names of families responsible for the rebuilding of the city. These names, when you read it, sounds boring. But what can we learn? We think, okay, first some people say, oh, there is a point of delegation, assignment of work, division of work. Yeah, but more than that, you see, they are families. It is about families whom God chooses to use. We focus so much on the individual, but we've forgotten about the capacity of families to accomplish God-given tasks. You see, in the future, when the storm comes, sometimes our approach may be different. We may not be able to use individuals. We may have to use families. In this instance, you know what? God honors the family's contribution. In fact, their names were written down for you and I in memorial. God honors families who are serving together. So let me conclude by saying this. Life will not be the same. It will not go back to normal. There will be many things that will be different in the MCO, in the post-MCO environment. Right now, like I said, it's the right time to prepare our foundation. Do it now before the storm comes. Now, what do I need to do to prepare for the storm ahead? First, recognize God is calling His people. Be available. Respond by being available. We may not have the opportunity to choose the task, but serve God in any capacity God enables. Secondly, prepare our minds for action. Yes, we need to be ready, and not only ourselves, but our family. Third, expect the church to do things differently. Expect to see changes in structures. So what the end? Be flexible. Remember one truth here. With the right foundation built now, you will not only save yourself, your family, but it will be a shelter to others when the storm hits hard. God bless you.